If I stand long enough, for about maybe more than an hour, it'll be there. And if I sit, pretty much any time, and then.
If you sit, and also you have it when you're sitting too?
And then
So standing and sitting, both.
And waking up.
And you've had it for how long?
About a year.
A year. And on a scale of 0 to 10, what is this, 10 being the kind of pain that might take you to the emergency room? What is this at its worst?
It doesn't get much higher than a 4, but it's constant. I can't get rid of it.
Okay. And do you have it right now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. Isn't that good? All right, and what do you do a fitness activity?
Yes.
What?
They're going to say I do CrossFit, but I don't do CrossFit.
Oh, you are in a hurry to destroy yourself.
That's one of my ways. So,
no, you haven't because you still got pain.
it's actually started after around the time I quit.
Yeah.
So it's gotten worse since then. I do my own stuff at the gym. It's more of a...
It's not CrossFitting.
It's not CrossFit. It's still... It's
still de-fitting.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, what you do, you work out with weights? I mean, what do you do?
With weights.
And do you do aerobics something or another? No.
I cycle like almost 3 times a week. If I
And you
try.
cycle? And you like really out on the street or that
Yeah,
spinning?
about an hour on the street with clip-in pedals.
Okay, very good. All right. Do you mind slipping off the shirt? And now, are you a PT student?
Yes.
With a very heavy wallet.
There's nothing in it though.
I just didn't want you that
I knew we
high
would
feet
get-
on one side.
I knew we would get along. She's known Nick for 30 seconds, has already destroyed his life.
I may put this down. Okay, so-
We're meant to be. We're in the same family tree.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So the first thing, let me move over here.
Oh, hold on.
Yes, he's not.
All right. So.
It's that dad bod.
Okay, my turn now, my turn. All right, so the first thing I like to look at is iliac crust height. Nick, are you right-handed?
Yes.
Okay, his left iliac crust is much higher than his right. And the other thing, and I'm making sure that his feet are in the same plane. And, see, these are the interesting things. And his right ASIS is forward of his left. So my left hand is behind my right hand. So his pelvis is slightly rotated to the left. Now, and then his left gluteal is actually bigger than his right. So he's standing.
That's why I won't sit.
Oh, no, that's why. This is instead of atrophy, you put a wall in there. Okay, so the reason why this doesn't quite fit perfectly is his left iliac crust is high. And that would mean that the abductors on the left, well, let's do it this way, and then I can explain to you better. Put your feet together for a minute. Okay. So when he puts his feet together, this went even higher. But the good news is his pelvis straightened out. Put your feet apart. Now, slightly rotated to the left. Yeah, you are. And the iliac crust isn't quite as high. So what is this like? When you pull your feet together like that, it's a test of relative stiffness. We're looking at these abductors pulling him taut. Now, the fact that his left iliac crust was higher would say that that hip is an adduction, and the right is in relative abduction. So these are stiffer than these. But his pelvis was rotated to the left. Usually it's the iliotensor fasciolata. And that means that his hip on the left is in medial rotation, while this one is in lateral rotation. So that would suggest the tensor on this side is stiffer. Do you understand? But it's not working out right, because if the tensor was truly stiffer on the left, this hip would be abducted and the pelvis would be rotated to the left. So we've got other muscles that are playing a role in this whole thing. Do you understand? Let's do this. And the other thing you can see, did you ever throw things or with your...
Yeah, I played baseball when I was little.
Yeah, because the right side of his back is bigger than the left side. And he too, isn't he in a thoracic kyphosis and his upper back is swayed back? Do you understand? So, Nick, what happens if you put your feet really far apart? No, that's too far.
Right-handed
How
spike
about
ball.
this?
Not enough left hand.
Now, does that change your symptoms at all?
Yes.
Are they better?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how hard hard is this? Can you do it? Can you handle the thing? Sure. Why are they better? Because he was in a lateral pelvic, lateral tilt. Do you understand? If one iliac crest is higher than another, you're already in a side bend, so you're slightly rotated. Just from that. Clear?
Shirley, his pain was on the left?
Right here.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and it doesn't even matter about which side, but yeah, okay. And his right side is bigger than the left side. In some ways, that works out good, because if you're rotated to the right, your left iliac crest is high, your side bent to the left. And that means your vertebrae should be rotated to the right. You go like this, your vertebrae have to rotate to the right, so you can side bend this way. And if you bend side bend this way, guess what? They go to the other side. We'll see. All right. So first thing is, what do I know? I know that he swayed back a bit this way. He needs to be like this. His hip flexors are pulling on him a bit. That I think he's slightly rotated to the right. He has asymmetrical pelvic tilt, lateral pelvic tilt, and his pelvis is rotated to the right, but it's offset when we pull his feet together. Okay, next test for me is forward bending. So, Nick, go ahead and forward bend for me. Tell me what happens to your symptoms now.
Okay, I can't feel them, but my hamstrings are on fire. So.
No symptoms when he forward bends. Right? So when he's flexed, there are no symptoms. Now, in some ways, I should tell you what, I'm going to automatically be thinking that this is a flexion rotation problem. I'm going to say flexion, even though his symptoms went away with flexion, but I'll tell you why I think that. Maybe let me correct this way. Let's call it extension rotation. That's going to be more clear for our purposes. Okay, Nick, now I want you to side bend to the right. Does that hurt?
No.
Okay, no pain at all? Does your symptoms go away?
Yes.
So all we have to do is forward bend, have him walk with his feet out, and side bend to the right. Okay, let's go to the left. Does that hurt?
It doesn't hurt. That's not increasing my symptoms, though. It's not relieving.
It's not? Okay, but it's really pretty awful. Okay, I'll show you all. Okay, let's go to the right again. Now, to me, this is a pretty nice curve. Now, in some ways, this isn't making sense, but we'll do it again. Okay, now come this way. Now, this is not too much of a curve, and what he did the first time, I don't know whether I could see it the second time, is he had a little translation motion when he went to the left. So he not only forward bent, there was like a sliding motion as he went over to the left. Okay, and I'm going to do this. I'm going to, let me show you all back here. Okay, Nick, side bend towards me. So this is a really pretty good curve. Go this way. Did that hurt?
No, it feels so good. Would you say that?
Yeah, of course. And we don't have a nice curve here as we do going to the left. Okay, hold on. Okay, now I'm going to do this one. Okay, I'm going to hold on to you. Let's hold on. Don't pull. Just let your shoulders fall. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Are there any symptoms at all? No, of course. I'm going to tell you a story just to make a point. So I was doing a program, and there's a New Zealand practitioner named Mulligan, and he does mobilization with movement. I call him the snags and drags guy. And anyway, he showed a video, and he was examining a woman and showed this video, and she side bent and he hurt. He put his hand here. She side bent again, and it didn't hurt. He called it mobilization, and I would call it stabilization. We're both right. But if we use the same terminology, there will only be half the number of courses to go through. So everybody that has a road show makes up their own terminology, which is part of our professional problem. And then everybody goes ahead and says, I wonder what they said that was the same. I wonder what they said that was different. It goes on and on like that. And I say we're both right. I think that if I stabilize him so that he's not moving along the path of least resistance, he doesn't give us symptoms. He's mobilizing him because I'm making him move somewhere else because he can't move where it's the easiest to move, which is along the path of least resistance. Do you understand? All right. So again, all of these things verify for me that rotation is a component of this problem. Now let's do one more thing about rotation itself. So Nick, let's have you just rotate your whole body. This way, okay? Let's go the other way. And go to the right again. Yeah. Okay. The left.
It takes a lot more.
It's not huge. Does that hurt you at all?
That way doesn't feel too good.
Good. Okay. Once more. Let's go the other way. That hurts. Good. Now, let me show you. If you all saw what he did. What Nick does is he doesn't rotate, he twists. And what I mean by that is that if you go to rotate, you should be able, not totally, but it's not too far off, run an axle right through your spine and go like this. What Nick does is go off to the side like this. And why does he do that? Because his abdominals are so good. When these restrict, if you go like this, your abdominals don't have to lengthen very much. If you go like this, your abdominals have to lengthen more. So when you get overdeveloped abdominals, you twist, and that's what's giving him this problem. It's really thoracic rotation. Now, Nick, take a deep breath for me. Oh, that's good. It's all pump handle and no bucket handle. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so let's do the critical test here. Okay. Let all the air out. Take a deep breath. Is there a respirator? It was less than an inch. He has got squeeze-o smash-o. Aren't you? Yeah, there you go. Let's take a deep breath. Feel it. Up, guy. He crossfitted himself into something.
Yeah, we threw him under the bus.
I didn't get himself. Yeah, how are you
Better?
Yeah. See, if you take a spine that's sort of rotated and then you go squeeze on top of it, you're not going to be happy. I'm serious. So if you stop the compression and then we get rid of the rotation outlet, that pain's going to go away. All right. Very good. You're going to slip off your shoes. I'll tell you, there wasn't enough change for me to remeasure. You can put that on so you don't stick to the table. But what does he have to do? I mean, this is where, like, cycling, what does he need to do when he gets off of the bicycle? Take a deep breath, because cycling is a major abdominal exercise. And you're using your abdominals in what kind of alignment? Short. You're short like that. Are you down on the drops, or?
Yeah. Well, I bought it to like pick me up a little bit.
Very little. I always tell these guys, well, keep going, you'll be as tall as I am someday.
Gosh. Take her home. I just want to adopt her as my
now,
grandma.
We used to call this, oh, I need to get over. Well, my back's going to be to somebody, so we'll have to deal with it. We used to call this would have been called the hip flexor length test. But I don't call it that anymore because we're trying to put our emphasis on movement. I could care less about the length of the hip length. What I want to know is, does the pelvis move? Now, I think most of his pain is a little bit higher, so we'll see what happens. But, so we call it hip extension with knee flex test. So we've renamed all of our little examination items so they speak to the motion that we're interested in and what the motion is performed rather than what muscle it is. So maybe you're going to bring that down. And I'll bring this. Thank you for helping me with that. Put your hand behind your left thigh. You got it? I'll take this leg. You got it? I'm just going to let this leg go down over the edge. You okay? You okay? Okay? Amazing. Really quite good. Quite good, quite good, quite good. You all right? Just got to quite good down all the way. So go out to the side. If I bring him out in abduction, we're almost completely there. Extend his knee. Did you come up into your mouth? So that's pretty good. Let this knee bend again. There we go. Good. I'm up on the table. So I have to abduct him to get him all the way out, so that tells you.
Tight
No,
TFL.
very good. And all else fails, you just say TFL.
Yonder.
I tried to contact the World Health Organization because this is true everywhere. Now on this side, you got a different story. I got it. Let's go. Let's go. You know what happens on this side that doesn't happen on the other side? Can you tell me?
There was pain with this side.
Oh, good. He's going into an anterior tilt. His pelvis is tilting on this side. It didn't tilt on the other side. Let me let this leg go out of the indigo. How are we?
That feels better.
Feels better. And how much more do I have to abduct this hip than the other one? A lot. Do you understand? So the reason why his pelvis is rotated to the left is the TFL on this side. Is that clear? And when we're not pulling on him, he has no symptoms. You okay like this?
Yep.
Okay. These legs in. Now, if I bring this out, are you all right lying down? You're okay. Are you okay if I have this in? Not as okay.
I feel it more up here now. Like it's shifted from my back to more of like an anterior pain.
Oh, now you got pain anteriorly?
Yeah.
What about like that?
That feels better.
It's good that you're going to PT, you're going to need one. All right, now the next part. So one, I want to know what his symptoms are like in this position. And then there's this test I stole from the orthopedic surgeon, so it's pretty complicated. Normal. Okay. Actually, this is pretty interesting. Well, so he has limited medial rotation and good lateral rotation. I forgot to point it out that Nick also is sort of a tall pelvis fellow. And tall pelvis is, it's easier to tell before the fashions change. But in men, where the belt line is at least an inch lower than the top of the iliac crest, that's a tall pelvis. And people, and men with a tall pelvis, there's a few women this way, but not many, with a tall pelvis have a flat back. They came that way, they need to stay that way. And the iliac crest are not at L4. Yeah, it's not at the level of L4, it's L3 and climbing on some of them. So, and usually they have femoral retroversion. And many men have femoral retroversion. And Nick was one of them. Because he has no medial rotation, he has lateral rotation. Okay. All right. So now, the next test is for me just to do passive hip and knee. I got it, Nick, don't help me. This is where I struggle. I like to carry on about how hard it is. But, so here's another tip for all you future examiners, is that I would say, this is a big generalization, but when I teach lab courses, most physical therapists do not pay enough attention to what they can feel. They're busy doing something. And the whole secret is, what do you feel as you're doing something? So what do I feel when one, I can easily lift Nick's leg, but it is really heavy. And I mean, I fess up. I am like one of the weakest people in the world now, but still.
CrossFit.
I know.
Gosh.
Anyway, I'll tell you the other thing. You have hip pain? Your right hip.
Not right hip pain.
Well, this hip doesn't flex right either. So that's the other thing. See, this is what we call, and I think I put it in the heavy line. Yeah. Whew. Right there. That's about the end of the range.
Is that a khaki infield?
Huh?
Is that is it his khakis?
No, it's not a khaki infield. I'm pretty sure this is a hip infield, isn't it? This is the end of his hip flexion range. That ain't much. I can go, now, reach across to do this. I have to do it. This is pretty interesting because his left hip isn't as stiff as his right. The range of motion is less. His right leg is his really go-to leg, which is unusual for a right-handed person. but hip flexion is about 90 degrees, and that's about all. Now, I'm not too worried about Nick's abdominals, because I think they're too good for the next test. So I did it passively. I know how much hip flexion he has. I was observing as I was doing that whether he got any lumbopelvic motion, and he did not, which usually reinforces that he has good abdominals. But Nick, bring your right knee towards your chest. That's pretty good. That's enough. Let's do that. Okay, good. Okay, put it down. Now, what I'm looking for, get out of the way for everybody, is that bring the left one on. On the left, this is only a slight amount of lumbopelvic rotation. Did you have any pain doing that? No. And we go to the right, there's none. Now, I wouldn't say that, what we know is that you have to move a ½ inch for us to be reliable. So 6 of us examine somebody, we could reliably detect a ½ inch of movement, but not less than that. If he had symptoms, it would be important, but I'll tell you what's consistent on this. He does it sort of the other way around. Let me make one more observation. I was so busy with this. Nick, bring that left leg over here. Wait, right, left. Yeah. So what I'm looking for is that often when people like this leg, in fact, I'd even say his quadriceps are bigger on this side than they are on this side. His thigh is bigger than this one. That he stabilizes his pelvis by hip extension on the right, and doesn't do that on the left. He uses his abdominals more. That's how people cheat with their abdominals. You control your pelvis by hip extension rather than by abdominals. It's usually a little bit of both, but he does it more with his right leg, because I tell you, his right leg is his stance go-to leg rather than the left, which is unusual, because if you throw things with your right, usually it's your left leg that he uses as your standard go-to leg. Okay, next test for me is let this knee go out to the side. Okay. It's fine. It's probably a khaki problem. So this one go out. Oh, and see, we get, again, more lumbopelvic rotation. Does that hurt? Okay. That's too bad. I always like it to hurt, because that was a little excessive. So I'm filing away. What do I think Nick needs to do? Because in this system, when you fail a test, it becomes your exercise. So I'm getting his program put together, but I'm going to figure out what are the critical things. I don't like to give people things that are nice but not necessary. So I want to sort out the necessary from the nice, etc. Okay, Nick, let me see you on your left side, please. And at night, do you sleep on your side or the back?
On my side.
Any side?
I think it's this one.
Mainly this one?
Yeah.
And do you have any pain at night?
Yeah. It's coming back right now.
Okay. How's that? Now, see, it's really unusual for a man to get a pain in the sideline, because they have narrower hips and bigger shoulders. Women, it's almost expected. But he's got that little bit of rotation, so this is putting him into a side bend, and that's why he's uncomfortable. Okay, so then the next test is, I want to just see him turn his knee up like this. Okay, Nick, go ahead. Okay, now, he is not really failing this test, I'll tell you. Because that motion should just be hip joint motion. He rotated his pelvis, but he rotated off of the leg underneath. When I look for a problem, it's the pelvis is rotating, but the thoracic spine is staying still. We'll see what happens on the other side. I'll take this leg. I got it. Can you hold this leg up like this? Okay, that's no good either. Gluteus medius to have a twitch. Okay. Once more. Ugh. So we got medial rotation. He's holding it in abduction, but this is primarily his tensor that's holding it up there, not his gluteus medius. I'm not going to worry with this right now because that's not our most important thing. Let's have you on your other side. You have no idea facing that way. That's a guy. I'm sorry.
Gosh.
Okay, Nick, go ahead. This is the real you. Okay. Very fine. That's okay. No problem. I could show you something else. I'm going to just do this as a teaser. This has nothing to do with his back. It's like, once you have a standard exam, then you start picking up things like, so many people call this, what do they call this? The clam.
Clamshells. What did she say?
Okay, now, here's what I found out. Let's do this once more. Now, what Nick is doing with this book, if you monitor the greater trochanter, you can see three different things that could potentially happen. He did hip abduction. And what some people do is hip lateral rotation. And then usually their abductors test poor. We'll see. His lateral rotators may test poor on this side because this shows just abduction. And the ideal would be a combination of abduction and medial rotation. Now, the reason why I'm pointing it out is, this is another thing. Just because you're doing a certain exercise for something, you're not sure that it's doing that something unless you check it out in better detail. I mean, even in my book, I didn't get a signed book. I said this was a beginning stage for the gluteus medius. I don't mean it anymore. Erase, cross out. I wouldn't do it anymore that way. Okay, I got this leg. Look, let go. You hold this leg up like this. Now, see, this gluteus medius work much better than the other one. You got it? You hold it? Good God. Hold it. And break it. Okay, face down. How are you like this? Are you okay?
Not later long enough, I think it's
Okay, well, we can't do that. See, even his gluteal crease on the right side is better than on the left side. I'm going to just flex your knee. How do you do it? It's amazing it's not stiffer than that. Pretty amazing. Does that hurt you at all? He's getting a little anterior pelvic, little rotation. This is really lumbo-pelvic rotation. No pain? Great. And then if I do this, because what's doing this is intervasculata. Now, this isn't the one that tested, so this is the one.
Yeah.
Gotta love it. How's that, Nick?
Better.
You understand? The tail is right to the bone, getting lumbo-pelvic rotation. Now, let's just see if I do it this way. You okay, Nick? Am I hurting you?
No.
You okay?
Yeah.
You okay? You okay? Do you understand? 1 and 1 or 2. He gets lumbo-pelvic rotation and neck dizziness symptoms. If I don't let him rotate, if I take the stretch off of the TFL by putting in an abduction, he doesn't get the rotation and he doesn't get his symptoms. It's clear. Everything's clear. That rotation is giving him the symptoms. Okay. Next is hip lateral rotation. You okay again? That's all right? That's his medial. This is his lateral. This is further support for what? Structural variation. Retroversion. Very good. Now we already know just flexing his knee hurts. And I don't want, this doesn't rotate so well, you have to take it out like this. Okay? And there's his median. So I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, Nick, hands and knees. Is this where you just push something and it goes down?
Pull it out.
Deal with the staff it on another time. Complete makeover. Okay, now what do we know that's going to be problematic here? Did Nick's hips don't flex more than 90 degrees? Yeah. This position, you just a little side bend, still a little bit higher on this side. Can you let your back be down there? Let go, like letting your tongue dip. You all right like that?
Yeah.
You have any symptoms? No. Great. Okay. Okay, yeah, come on back towards me. It goes off to the right. Let the stop. Go forward. Down forward. Go off to the right. Can you see that? You all see that over here? Going off to the right. Let me just see something. Come on back. That's what I thought. His left hip is medially rotated. My hands go with the greater trochanter on the left is going like this. That's why this hip is going off to the right, because this hip isn't flexing the way it should. Usually it goes lower, but not in this case. Okay. So, Nick, I'm gonna turn this leg out a little bit. You okay like that? Okay. Come on back. You okay?
Yep.
Any pain? That's enough. Stop there. Go forward. Now, go forward. Okay, now, but I want to show you. Let me just make sure I'm right. Come on back. Posterior tilt right there. Go forward. Come on back. Posterior tilt right there. The right leg. Once more. Posterior tilt. Same place. You see posterior tilt every time at the same place. That's structural. It is not muscle stiffness. There's no way that's going to change without surgery, and I wouldn't do that. Nor should surgery. Yeah, I'm right. That's enough. That's enough. That's enough. Okay. So I think I was raising. Okay, next one. Do you have any pain?
Not yet.
He's an optimist. Let me just show you. You know what? Use the iliac crest level. Put your feet together. And his pelvis doesn't rotate anymore. Now, I pump this to go up.
Yes.
Next one. You okay like this? Great. This one? Okay. You over here to see what this looks like. Watch your back. Go ahead. Okay. This one? Turn around. This one, tell me what's different between these two. This one?
Immediately rotates.
Did you see it?
Immediately rotated. See it.
What does this one do?
Immediately rotate.
Which tensor tested the shortest?
That one.
Which tensor gave him the lumbopelvic rotation?
Awesome.
And the left. Now, here should be another component. Let's see if this works.
You want it?
All right.
Yep.
Can you hold this one out? You got it? Hold it. Don't let it push it down. Okay. Right there. You have this one? You hold it. You wanna hold it now? You wanna take it?
All right, real two.
Let's go. You ready?
CrossFit.
And it goes on. Got it? Wanna hold this?
Savagery.
Got it?
Yep.
Okay, that's good. This one.
That internal rotator on the left is going to be stout.
I'm so glad Nick volunteered in spite of my teasing him. So, what I want you all to see is,
Totally used to it.
can you hold this? Hold it. This lateral rotator tests strong. This one tests really weak. And play back down. You got it? Can you hold this one now? Hold it. Hold it. Now test strong. This is so perfect. Come on, sit up. Okay, so that's why I'm saying, look at the multiple things that all have together. His tensor fasciolatus, he uses a lot more on the left than he does on the right. It's a hip flexor. What hip flexor is he not using? Iliopsoas. It almost works out that way. The tensor saying, don't bother, Ilio, I've got it covered. So, and that's medially rotating him in his hip. And are you having the left hip thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, you should. You should because he's got femoral retroversion. And the tensor is a medial rotator, so it's keeping that hip in medial rotation, which it did when he rocked back. What tests weak? His deep lateral rotator. Not just because and then when he laid back down, his lateral rotation was strong. And why is that? Because the gluteal muscles become medial rotators when your hip is flexed. So he's using his gluteal muscles as the lateral rotators. And then they are flexing his hip and medially rotating. They're medially rotating his hip when he's sitting. So he's caught between a rock and a hard place. The tensor is rotating his hip medially when his hip is extended. the gluteal muscles are rotating his hip immediately when his hip is flexed. That's why he has the hip pain. And he has the back pain because the left tensor is so overdeveloped and it's rotating. Do you understand? So, and the challenge for him, you really need to watch your adjustments on your bike. Because he can't flex his hips more than 90 degrees, so you need to be sure on your bike that you're not forcing your hip to go up higher than the 90 degrees. Do you understand? And you need to keep track of your left knee. Your right quad thigh is much bigger than your left. You are definitely using this leg much more than you're using this one. And you need to be sure on all of your other activities, I'm serious, that you're not twisting. And I think that he's got to improve the extensibility of his abdominal muscles, which, oh, thank you. This is mine, thank you so much.
So gracious, Kyle.
Okay, so what I mean by that is you've got to do this practice taking a deep breath, arms up over your head, taking a deep breath. And I would also have you practice just kind of imagine you've got a rod running through your spine, and that you're really rotating about that rod, and I don't care how far you don't go. It's just until you get some excursion from all that, because this is pulling you down and adding to that rotation. And I'm sure that when he's on his bicycle, he's doing a lateral pelvic tilt to get that pedal around rather than just moving in the hip. So if you can see yourself in a mirror, have somebody take a video of you.
Okay.
And then I would be looking at every other kind of activity that you do in the gym, looking at how you do it.
Okay.
What about specific exercise? I think that the thing that would only be the most useful for Nick would be the prone flexion, prone knee flexion, where he holds onto his pelvis and keeps it from rotating. Start an abduction. For all of your muscle, you're not really that stiff. So he should change pretty rapidly. And you shouldn't have any symptoms, just like when I held you still. And I would even have you use your hands to keep your pelvis still and then easily flex your knee. I'm not worried about his flexing his own knee, meaning that if his quads were really, really stiff, he would be his own resistance machine. If his hamstring showed to me any kind of passive length property, I would be more concerned, but he has full knee extension without any trouble. That's why when he bent over, he said, my hamstrings are burning. Not really. He's using them when he shouldn't be using them. He doesn't need to use them. And they're not that short at all. So I'm not worried about that. So I have him flex his knee actively. And then it would also help with the iliotibial band length problems if when he can flex his knee and he doesn't have any lumbopelvic motion, he can do a little bit of hip lateral rotation. Do you understand? Because that would further help elongate that tensor fascial lata. And it's not the elongation that's as much of a problem as it is keeping his pelvis still. So I'm pretty happy that this is primarily a rotation syndrome, because he side bent to the left, the rotation was his problem, and with a little bit of extension.
Would you have him demonstrate just one repetition of each of those major exercises? You would send him home that, please.
Okay, so, and you know, even the sitting thing, even when he's sitting like this, what he did was hip medial rotation, so it's easy enough if I don't do that. Easily straight. Down. Easy, 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 easy. Yeah. See, that's rolling in, well, don't do that.
Okay.
You go.
Okay.
I mean, that would be one.
We couldn't see it, so.
It's as easy as, don't let him be easy, 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 Nick. Easy, easy. Don't let him immediately rotate. All he's doing is recruiting the tensor. Now, and I think guys like this that have hips limited to 90 degrees have a real hard time keeping a good iliopsoas. And the reason being, they can't get it up to where it's iliopsoas only. And it wouldn't hurt Nick, just while sitting in a chair, just to use his hands to lift it up a little bit like this. You okay there? And then just try and hold it. Think about where the iliopsoas inserts. You got it? Yeah. And then he can give himself his own resistance to this. Do you understand? He needs to find it and use it a little bit better. Now, let's go prone. So it's the left. So what I'm saying is, let's take this leg out to the side. Put your hands up here. You got it there? And I'm not going to tell him to contract his abdominals to do this. Why? Because his abdominals are running muck already. So I want him to mechanically Now, sometimes I tell people, if you can have a significant or insignificant other, and it won't take so long that the insignificant has to become significant. And then just easily, yeah, you want to keep that still and easily flex your knee. You okay? Okay? Got it? And then he can progressively abduct this leg so it's a bigger stretch. And then, once that's all good, then you can try hip lateral rotation like this. Got it? Oh, I should have done one other thing while he was sitting. Okay? And then, even when he was sitting, we had him do knee extension, but he could also do hip lateral rotation. And that'll help the little deep lateral rotators. I love the quadruped because I think that's what helps to get you out of that. You know, and one of the other things, this is such a nice era because you know what? Everybody has a camera in their phone. And what I was doing before I did this retirement thing was taking pictures of people with their phones, and I don't have to worry about HIPAA because it's their problem. It's up on Facebook, they decided it, not me. So, because you need to show people, because often people that want to be in flexion feel like their stomach's on the ground when they're just level. You want to show them what they're doing because they have no idea. So I'm going to laterally rotate this leg, and you're going to come back towards me. You can't go too far. Are you okay like that?
Yep.
Let's go farther. That's good. Okay, come on back. And I want to make sure this left hip doesn't immediately rotate. That's why I put him in lateral rotation. You okay like that?
Yep.
But we can't go too far. Otherwise, you'll get, see, still, don't try and make yourself go off. See, this back just flexes right away. I don't want to trade this rotation problem for another one. Let's try this one. Let's walk on there. It's not, doesn't have to show something. Okay, that's good enough. That's good enough. And then the other really biggie that he's got to do after he bikes, he set his arms up over your head. No, don't put it on your head. Just hold them up. Okay, take it right there. Oh, boy, you just really. Oh. That's it. Am I picking him up? Put my hand up. Yeah, he really needs to do that. That's about the worst I've seen.